Hello and welcome to Tech Circle. This is Vignesh Anantraj and you are listening to Tech This Week, a weekly analysis of major developments in startups and enterprise technology ecosystems across India. Starting off this week with an exclusive, former IBM India chief Karan Bajwa is now slated to take charge of Google Cloud in India, and to talk more about that, I have with me my enterprise colleague Anand. So what's going on? And can you brief a little more about Karan Bajwa's role and what type of expertise will he bring to Google Cloud?
So Bajwa has previously worked for 9 years actually, each at IBM as well as Microsoft. Okay. So he brings a vast enterprise experience, and that is something that has been lacking at Google India. So Google has so far focused mostly on the advertisement, which is its main business so far in India, but now with Bajwa at its helm, I think they are trying to get more customers in the enterprise segment. So with the cloud adoption, rapidly accelerating, with most enterprises looking at digital transformation, this is going to be a big growth area for all companies, and AWS and Azure have a head start in this department. So now with Thomas Kurian at its global CEO, Google is now trying to accelerate its enterprise play. So Bajwa's experience can help Google to get a bigger foothold in the enterprise market.
Coming to Google's role in the cloud market, so how big is it exactly, and how do you compare their cloud share in the market as compared to Microsoft and Amazon?
Globally as well as in India, their share is much lower than, say, in AWS or in Azure. For instance, in all of 2019, Google's revenue from cloud was something around $9 billion, whereas AWS and Azure had that kind of revenue just from one quarter of that year. That's the December quarter. So it's going to be a tough task for Google to match these guys. And also, even in India, despite having a 90% market share in its other products like Maps or Mail or Search and even Android software, the company has not been aggressive in the enterprise market. But with this, now they see a huge potential in the cloud market, enterprise market. So that's why they are, getting somebody as big as Bajwa for the role, and now they are planning to go aggressive in the cloud market. And if you look at the previous executive who headed Google Cloud in India, Nitin Bavankule, he didn't have much of a immediate enterprise experience, and with Google he was looking at mostly e-commerce and education and retail and those kind of verticals. He was not necessarily an enterprise man at Google. So with this appointment, Google Cloud globally is acquiring a lot of companies, getting top executives across Asia Pacific and across the globe actually. So this is a clear show of intent, saying that they are very aggressive in the market.
What are some of the recent acquisitions of Google Cloud? We heard that it had acquired, they might officially announce this.
We don't know that yet, but Google hasn't officially commented for our story. So I couldn't confirm whether Bajwa is going to take up this role immediately or whether there is some more time before he joins the company.
Thank you, Anand. And next we have the funding segment, where we have news of investments in Unacademy and FarEye. Supriya, can you brief a bit about both of these investments?
Yeah, we're picking some of the top ones this particular week, but generally it was a very busy week for startup funding in the technology space in the country. You had big names, Swiggy, Sequoia, in fact, was paid in a lot of the other rounds this week. Now, Unacademy raised a round from General Atlantic and Facebook's, I think this has to be the second most significant investment in India after Meesho. And they led the round was at $110 million. So the month of February is turning out to be very significant in the entire edtech space. You have kids lining up for the exams that's up in March and April times of the year. And in the last 2 months, in fact, Byju's, Vedantu, Unacademy, all of these three companies, they raised about 330 million overall. So generally it's an exciting time for the entire edtech space in India. And General Atlantic was also part of the fundraise at Byju's, where the company was valued at $8.2 billion. This this fundraise at Unacademy happens to be the second education bet for it this month. Another exclusive that came up on the TechCircle website this past week was from Shweta. So this company called Farai, which is a logistics management platform, a Logitech company. It's run by Robotic Wares. So they're close to raising a fund of $40 million from a consortium that includes some new as well as returning investors. So 8 Road Ventures is supposedly leading the round.
So Supriya, 8 Road Ventures has been involved in a lot of investments recently. I believe I saw their names, a couple of names in a few other stories also.
Yeah, you picked that right. So 8 Road Ventures is actually an arm of the Fidelity International, the MNC in the US, which is the financial services MNC. And so that's a good catch, because yesterday they raised a round with Whatfix, which is $32 million round. So they were returning investors in that. That of course was led by Sequoia. And another company was MoEngage last week, which Prajit reported. That was a $25 million Series C round. So yeah, you can see a lot of the SaaS touch in their recent investments, all the three companies. The one at Farai, of course, hasn't been confirmed in the company as of yet.
Yes, Supriya, MoEngage is a pretty interesting analytics platform which provides a 360-degree customer view for all of its clients.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all of these are primarily digital adoption solutions.
And also SaaS-based, and it's pretty interesting. Quicker has again lost its unicorn status. Stockholm-based investment firm AB Kinnevik has valued its 17% stake in online classifieds company Quicker at 96.9 million as on December 31st, 2019, which is actually a sharp drop from the $173.3 million valuation, which was just a quarter ago. So what this means is Quicker's overall fair market valuation now stands at $570 million. Going by the calculations, at the end of 2019, its actual valuation was estimated to be 1.03 billion. Supriya, it's no longer a unicorn anymore. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so this is not the first time actually, because valuation is wavered in that sense. It reportedly became a unicorn in 2015, right? So that was when Steadview Capital had led a 150 million growth round in the company. And yeah, so all this comes to the the devaluation comes to the backdrop of this particular alleged incident that had happened internally in the company. So apparently some of the employees and some of the car vendors, they placed fake orders and skimmed off crores in commissions from these fake orders. And yeah, so because of that, the company had also laid off a lot of the employees, which is
almost half of their employees.
Yeah, so that was over 2,000 of their 3,000 odd, 4,000 odd employees. Yeah.
So what Kinnevik CEO Georgi Genev said, he said that Quicker had to lay off a lot of their workforce, which was half, and this was in order to become profitable. But on the flip side, he sees something positive towards it. He says that, so we now sit with a smaller company, but we also think it's much healthier, is what he had to say.
Yeah, but mostly the company will just survive this, because no one at top management really knew about this problem in the back. Yeah. Plus, it will likely impact the funding ability, but like I said, it will survive.
Great. So let's see how Quicker bounces back from this.
Yep.
The next story is from an Akamai report, which states that the number of attacks on APIs, especially on the financial services industry, are on a steep rise. 75% of all credential abuse attacks between 2017-2019 in the financial services industry have directly targeted APIs.
Yeah, that sounds worrying, aren't APIs and microservices really the next frontier that way, in the next neo-banking stage that we're leading towards?
Yes, Supriya, it is not only in the BFSI industry. APIs and microservices are one of the most important drivers in the entire digital transformation of almost every single industry that we can think about now, including domains such as healthcare, automotive, e-commerce, and OTT services. In the report, the security company observed 85 billion credential abuse attacks over a 24-month period, and almost about 20% of these, or 16.5 billion, were against host names that could be clearly identified as API endpoints. Back in India, it is to be noted that ICICI Bank recently released a mega API portal with more than 250 APIs that could be utilized by enterprises and financial institutions. And some time ago, even Yes Bank also launched its own API sandbox. It had around 50 APIs with the use cases spanning across management, payments, cards, and customer relationship management.
So how exactly can APIs be secured?
See, one popular use of the interface is to allow third parties to write add-on applications for a platform through APIs. So maybe what these financial institutions could do is to monitor add-on software carefully and focus on authorization and authentication on the front end. And they also need to keep aside separate time and also a little more budget for security testing. While new functionality drives development, it is estimated that about 5% to 10% of the budget should be allocated to security testing as first of the few steps towards making sure that APIs are secured. And thanks Anand and thanks Supriya for being a part of this podcast. And with that, we come to an end of this edition of Tech This Week. Catch us again next week for more interesting enterprise and startup news analysis.